This is the next one that we're going to do. This one here. You guys can take a look. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Yeah, a lot. But we're going to be real thorough. And the difference in the new one that was redone by pal Benko, you can see how it's all streamlined. It's a lot shorter. So we're going to get started. At first, we'll go ahead and we'll do this one, the streamlined one, and then we'll go back over the first original one. This is the most difficult case. The king must be driven into a corner the same color as the bishop. The mating position is white king at b6, knight at a6, bishop at e4, and a black king on a8. Or the white king at b6, bishop at b7, a knight at a6 or d7, either one, and a black king at b8. Two other mating positions are possible but cannot be forced. In an unfavorable position, the mate may require over 30 moves. Number 4 is the basic position where the first problem is to chase the king to the other side. This move, he says, is better than this way. You might be asking, why did he go this way? Why didn't he just go that way? Well, if he went that way, checkmate, knight, bishop, that's why. Mate. says here, instead of this, bishop to e4 is also good and leads to similar variations. Now notice here, the knight has here and the bishop has here. King has here, here, and here. So this little king is actually in a circle boxed in. Check if that videotape's running. Is the red light on blinking? Is it on?
Yeah.
I mean, does it say record on the screen on the monitor? All right. So you can see here how the knight comes down here and here with the bishop and here with the bishop. Kind of got them boxed in this one little area for now. We'll take a look at a different example here. Actually, this is the other way to go about it here. Bishop e4 is also good and leads to similar variations. Notice how the knight has here and the bishop has here. Now, the knight has here and the bishop has this. So it makes that wall so he can't go back, okay? He can't go back. Because if he would have left the knight here, nothing's stopping him from going right here. So he has to kind of go right here to seal that off. Notice also now when the bishop goes back, you got knight, and you got bishop, making this little wall again, and you got the king here. So all this little area, like an L, boxes in this king. And he has to go here because if he goes here, checkmate. Notice how the knight has this and the bishop has this, so he's boxed in, and the king's got that. He has to go back the other way. Now the bishop comes here, blocking that square, so he has to come back again. And he can dance around all he wants to, but he's about to get checkmated. Mate. There's another way, a different variation, a different way to do it. We'll rack them up again. Now here, it's King C7. Or, if they go King to C8, notice the cutoff again, the knight and the bishop here. The squares, how they're cut off. Again, another cutoff. It wouldn't have done him any good to try to go here because the bishop, knight, he's not going to go anywhere and he's just going to get boxed in and get checkmated faster. And continues in the note to black's third move, which was the first alternate version that we showed. It would have been the first version on this one. So we rack them up again. Knight's got that. And he goes here, it says, or King to C6, Bishop to D3. You got here on the bishop, here on the knight, here on the king. Boxes him in. The only place he can go, there or here. Goes to here, another cutoff. And this is familiar from the note to black's third move, which was the first one that we saw. So we'll rack them up again. Notice this kind of W type move, like a letter W. There's a pattern here, like a letter W. Now here, there's another branch on here. If they go here, King to C6, you bring this down like this and you make that cutoff. Now, we looked at the last one, if they go straight up, and I said this was the only other place they could go. So we're going to see what happens when they run here. says here, or king to d8 and bishop b5 as above, which we already looked at. Another cutoff. The knight has this, and the king has that. Another cutoff right here with the bishop on a6. Right there. Cut him off again. And mates in 2. Anybody see it? See the mate in 2? It's 1. And either here, that's mate, or here, that's mate. Either one. That's the mate in 2. So we'll rack them up again. I know it's long and tedious, but you're going to be glad for this because you're going to learn it really, really well. We're going to rack them up, and you're going to learn this really, really well. I know it's tedious, we keep going over it over and over, just different variations, but it's a really important checkmate to learn. I want you guys to really know this. I wouldn't be wasting my time if I didn't care about you. I just put something up on a 2D diagram, you know, put it in chess base, click, click, run through it, and say good enough, whatever. But that's the difference at PC Chess Club. We're going to put in the extra time and we're going to put in the extra work because we want you to have the best. That also means the best instruction. Now there'll be times that we go through it with a 2D diagram because maybe we're limited on time, or we just want to use the board in chess base, the 2D board that looks like a diagram, instead of setting up a chessboard and moving all the pieces. And that's more an example when we want to use colored squares and we want to use arrows and things like that. I think ChessBase calls that graphics, graphical annotations. But we're going to go through this. We went through all the variations. Now we're going to play through just the main moves. If you can learn this and learn how to checkmate with a knight and a bishop, you can beat the world's most powerful chess program like Houdini 4 Pro. If you give Houdini 4 Pro just a king and you get the knight and the bishop with your king, you should be able to checkmate Houdini 4 Pro. If you know how to go about it, you know the process, the methods, the strategies, you know how to make the pieces all work together, there's no reason you cannot checkmate any chess program on the planet. You should have no problem, never have a problem getting this done. Here's that W maneuver I was talking about. Now this is important here, a little time out. You notice when they went from bishop d3 to here, this bishop is untouchable. It's got here and here, these squares. But the knight, covered by the king, the knight's untouchable, it's covered by the king. The knight has that square right there, so he can't just go to here, to stay off of here and here, just make a straight shot to the bishop. Can't do that. That was a critical move. It's not going to tell you that in the book. It comes with time and experience. It's knowing what to look for. So then he goes to here, king to c7. Then you want to back him up again. Now you've got here covered, and you got the knight on that, you got the bishop on that. So he runs to here, trying to go away from the correct corner. He's just trying to prolong it as long as he can, really. That's about the only thing that he's doing here. Now, the knight covers this. By doing that, the knight, well, at first, by doing that, he draws the king out. Also making way for his king to inch over this way. You'll see it here in a minute. Just hold on. Hold on. You'll see it. When he does this, the bishop has here and here, and the knight has here and now here. He goes back this way, refusing to go. Notice how white does that little triangle and inches that black king over in the corner. Notice that. Take notes. Pay attention. Got him boxed in again, because as long as that knight sits there, that's off limits. That and that's off limits. You just need to bring the king sideways. Bring him in. Box this king in that corner. Boxed in again. Here. You switch it up. At PC Chess Club, we call this move a switch up. You're just going to switch up the squares. Here, the square is still off limits, but the bishop has no defender. King and knight, nothing to protect it. So he has to move somewhere. And true, yeah, he could go back this way, but it's not as good. I mean, you go back this way and it would still hold the square, but it's not as good as going here. This is going to get you your checkmate quicker, a lot faster, okay? Goes back so that this piece, if the king moves somewhere, this piece won't be protected. That's not a problem. We're not worried about that. We're going to use a waiting move. We're going to go like that. Tries to get out on the flight square. That's not happening. I'll show you why. Bingo. Done. Dead. Has to go here. And you do not want to go here. Stalemate. Because knight, and king, stalemate. King's got here, 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 even without the bishop. But that would have been his only square he could move to. And if you do that, wham. Stalemate. So you don't want to do that. You want to go here. Okay? Now you can either go here, checkmate, or what pal Benko says in the book, knight to c6, mate. Now we're going to take a look at the original, the unedited, full version. Let me take a look at this for a second. They may be just identical. They should be. Looks like they might be a little bit different. Yep, they're just a little different. Yeah. Little different. Yeah, they are. They're different. Alright, we'll take a look at this. The original, right there. We're going to take a look at that one now. This is the most difficult case. The king must be driven into a corner of the same color as the bishop with the mating position. Black king at queen rook 1. This is all descriptive notation, so it's going to sound different. This is queen rook 1. Queen knight 6. Knight at queen rook 6. And bishop at king 4 mate. Or e4. Or the black king. Or here, black at queen knight 1. And either here or here would be mate. Two other mating positions are possible but cannot be forced. The black king at king knight 1. Wait a minute. King rook 6 or h6. Right there. Knight's got that, knight's got that, and the bishop's got that. Checkmate. But it says it can't be forced. Or the black king at queen 1, white at queen 6, or d6, bishop at d7, or what was called queen 7, and the knight at bishop 6, check. Or would have been c6, here, e6, or king 6, or bishop 7, or f7, or queen knight 7, right there, which would have been b7. Mate. In an unfavorable position, the mate may require as many as 34 moves. 34 moves? What, are you Looney Tunes? Crazy? 34 moves? What? Okay, enough funny business. Let's get on with the show. The mate may be divided into two parts. First, the black king is forced to the wrong corner. Okay. Not the same color as the bishop. And it is then driven to the other side. So, to get about as bad as you can get, bad off as you can get, that is, right there. Now, after that, then they start the process. And it says white to play starts here with a check and gets there more quickly. If they run the other way, which would have been bishop 5 or c4, bishop to bishop 7 check, or f7 check, it says right there, leads to much the same variations. So you can see how this position is different than the one that we had. So he's going to run this way. We'll go through it one time, all the way straight through, and then we'll play through the variations. Anybody see how that's a cutoff there? Can you see that? Can you see that cutoff? With that knight coming down, cutting that square off. And now we have the basic number 5, where the problem is to chase the king over to the other side. or here, mate. Either one. Stalemate positions are 3 kinds. With the bishop, okay, these would be stalemates with the bishop. That would be stalemate. It doesn't matter about the knight for right now. They're just trying to show you examples. With the knight, that would be stalemate, and with both. Stalemate. King, king, knight, bishop or king, either one. And that's an example. So we'll rack them up and we'll go through the variations. And here it says, or king to queen 4. This is the first variation. Notice the little net that he's starting to make. Little mating net. Can anybody see that? Can you see the mating net starting to form? That knight moves a cutoff. Bishop's got that. Knight cuts him off so he cannot go attack and get the bishop. I don't think he wants to go that way anyway, because that's getting him down in a corner the color of the bishop. He's going to get checkmated. He either needs to get here or here to be checkmated. And those are the 2 corners, here and there. Those are the 2 corners that black is going to try to avoid at all costs. Another cutoff. Bishop, bishop, knight. Cut off with the bishop right there. Also with the knight, but it puts the knight in a better position for where the knight's next move is going to be. Hold on. Another cutoff. Now he has another waiting move. Now he has to go back, and it continues on. Because the knight's got that, it was knight to knight 6 check. And he went down here, and they went here as a waiting move. Doesn't do him any good to try to run that way, because you just go right there. Now he has to go towards that corner. He's going to get checkmated faster. And that's the idea. You go to there so that he can't go back this way. That's the idea behind this move going here. He can't go this way to this corner. He's going to be going that way. It's a similar pattern from what it was before. It's very similar. It's just rotated. You know, the other pattern, had him up like that. And it was like that. It was blocking off that square and driving him along to this corner. The one the same color as the bishop. All they're doing here is they're going here, what they call king 6 or e6, and they're boxing him in so he can't go this way. He has the knight here, bishop here, king here. He has to go that way. It's going to drive him down to that corner. He's going to get checkmated. So we'll rack him up again. Starting to make a net. And here's the second variation. If he goes here, just cut him off. He's going to try to run out. Of course he's going to try to run out. He's not stupid, retarded. He's going to try to avoid being checkmated. And then there comes that same pattern, that number 5 diagram I showed earlier. And it says here, if instead of this, if they go to King 6, or which would have been E3, and here's another variation. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the next variation. Notice here how the bishop and the knight work together. The knight has got that, the bishop's got that. So they're starting to kind of box in the king a little bit. And that has an exclamation mark, a good move for black. This move right here, a good move for black. Now we have the basic number 5, where the problem is to chase the king over to the other side. They go this way. And from here it looks like the variations are very similar to the ones that we've already looked at. Meaning if they had went this way, there's that one. You guys should be experts after watching this. You should never ever have a problem getting the bishop knight checkmate after all this. Here's a different variation. The bishop to king 4 or e4. This is a different variation. Notice how he uses that bishop, brings it back from before, brings it up here. He backed it up so that black couldn't get it, and now he brings it up because he goes right there, it's checkmate. If he goes here, mate. Everybody see the checkmate? So he has to move over here. He's got no choice. And that's the winning move right there. Because the minute that white moves the king out of the way, the knight has that, bishop has that, king has that. So it's mainly these pieces working together, the knight and the bishop, so he has to come back this way. He's got no choice. Seals the deal right there. Has to back up. Makes him retreat. Mate. Here's the other note. You had 2 more notes, looks like. After this, total of 3 notes. And it looks like that's it. Notice how the king is boxing him in and taking away squares. Driving him to the edge of the board and then over to this corner. There goes that triangle again. If you could think of this like this triangle going across. With this bishop sitting here, it kind of seals off the board. We already went over this earlier. If he tries to go here, which would be his king 6, or algebraic, it would be e3. If he tries to go here to attack the knight, we already covered that earlier, in the earlier segment. Because if he does that, he just goes back. Now you got bishop, knight, knight. It's getting right in towards that corner. So he backs up. If you're thinking this, you're wrong. That wouldn't do anything, because the king would just go here and start to box him in and move him right on down that way. So he goes back here. That's his better move. If he runs the other way, instead of here, if he tries to go here, making that net here, and here is for the knight. This is the bishop, knight's got that. I think it would have been the same had he went just like that. He would have probably done that same move, because the king has this and the king protects this knight. So he would have been done either way. Go back to where we were. Starting to seal the board off. And then it says, and continues as in the note to black's 17th move. So the earlier one, the one that we saw earlier, just continues on from there. And here's where the two notes come in. Instead of this other move, now these are the two moves where it branches off. So instead of going here, which is the main line, the main variation, you're going to get two alternates. You go here, because the knight's got that, the bishop now seals that, and the knight's got that. So he has to come back, because you got king, king, knight, bishop, knight. He has to go here or here. He has to come back. He has to retreat. At least towards this corner. There's no out. He can't get out of this corner, this box. Knight on both of those dark squares and the bishop on that means he cannot break out of that box. He can't break out. No, it's not even possible. So you got two options. Basically either here, back where he was, or over to here. So we're going to take a look at them. A is right here. It says bishop to queen 7 check or bishop to d7 check. And again, we are on familiar ground. The note to black 17th move. Okay, we're back to the position that we were in right before the variation branches off. Variation B. And now, if instead, we already saw that one, there's only 2 squares. If he goes the other way, says if he goes back, you go to here, and it says as above. And mates in 2. Mate. And that's it. I don't know about you, but that was a long one. A lot of variations. So I hope you guys can, a lot of variations in that one. I hope you guys can appreciate the difference in the newer one. The one that Pal Benko did, the first one, we didn't have near as many variations, it didn't look like. It looks like a lot of that was cut out. Yeah. A lot of it was cut out. Oh yeah. And it started off with black moving. And the way they were set up, they were set up different too. So a lot of the early stuff was just tossed out. This is one of the reasons at PC Chess Club that we give you the new one and the old one. So you could follow along and you could decide for yourself what's more valuable to you personally. I personally think this one still has some value to see a lot of the early stages on this knight and bishop mate, on how they set that up, because this one's good, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the key stuff that you're going to need, or you're going to need to know, is from right here. When you got these pieces scattered, and this king can go everywhere, run all over the board, okay? There's a lot of little bitty nuances, little subtle teeny details that you're gonna lose if you just get this. And that's no disrespect to Grandmaster Pal Benko. I'm just saying that a lot of the secrets in here were cut out, maybe to save space, who knows. But we went through 4 books already. 5 books make that. We went through that one, that one, that one, that one, and a dead king. and that one. We went through 5 different ones, plus you could technically count 6, and then with the revised was different, 7. Or you could just count 6 if you want to count just the part that repeats. I count them as different because you'll notice that when we did the new one, we did the old one and we covered a whole lot more on the Bishop Knight Mate than we did in the new one, the revised one. And the next one up is this one. That's for chest endings. Won't care about that cane. He's dead.